Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're looking at a stack of sources that basically distill like 60 years of financial strategy down into a few core rules.
Yeah, golden rules for moving from poverty to prosperity.
Right, so consider this harsh truth for a second.
hmm
What if staying stuck in the poverty cycle isn't actually about a lack of hard work? Like, what if you're just following the wrong financial rules?
I mean, it really forces you to look at wealth completely differently. We're so conditioned to believe that just, grinding more hours is the only escape velocity.
Right, the whole work hard, get rich myth.
Exactly. But the central mission of these sources is that true wealth is built through calculated strategy, not just sheer sweat or, well, chance.
Right. And to build that strategy, you have to look at the psychology of cash before it even hits your bank account.
Yeah, the material points out a really stark difference in default thinking here.
Right, because when payday hits, people who are struggling financially ask, well, how do I spend this? While the wealthy are asking, how do I multiply this?
Yeah, it's shifting from that absolute, I can't afford this, to asking, how can I afford this?
Which really reminds me of a GPS.
Yes.
If you hit a financial roadblock, you don't just park the car and give up. Your brain recalculates a solvable detour.
That is a great way to put it. And that recalculation translates into the very first physical action you take when you get paid.
Which is paying yourself first, right?
Exactly. The absolute baseline rule they talk about is extracting 10% off the top for investments immediately.
But wait, if you're listening to this and you're like barely covering rent, you're probably thinking, how do I carve out 10%?
Oh, for sure. The sources actually address that psychological trap directly. They point to Parkinson's law of money.
Which basically says your expenses will just automatically rise to meet your income.
Right. So if you tell yourself you'll invest whatever is left over at the end of the month, human behavior guarantees there will be zero left.
Yeah, there's never anything left.
Exactly. By extracting that 10% first, you basically force your lifestyle to artificially adapt to the remaining 90%.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
But carving out that 10% is, well, it's completely useless if you're simultaneously pouring money into a bucket with a hole in the bottom.
Yeah. Which brings us to how this material redefines what an asset actually is.
Right. Leaning on Robert Kiyosaki's definition here, where things like houses and cars can actually be financial traps.
Yeah, they really can be.
See, I had to push back on this a little bit. I mean, people work their whole lives to buy a house, right? It appreciates in value. You can sell it later for a profit. Are we really ignoring property equity just because you have to, replace a roof occasionally?
Well, it really comes down to cash flow versus net worth. Like, net worth looks great on paper, but it doesn't pay for your groceries.
Fair point.
The rule here is strict. An asset puts cash into your pocket every month, and a liability takes cash out.
So a primary residence.
Right, it requires mortgage interest, property taxes, insurance, maintenance. It's draining your liquid resources without generating income.
So it's a liability posing as an asset.
Exactly. If it doesn't pay you, it's a liability.
And standard consumer debt takes that drain and just accelerates it, right? Like taking out loans for clothes or jewelry just to keep up appearances.
Yeah. The sources describe that as literally selling tomorrow's hope today.
Wow. Selling tomorrow's hope today. That's bleak. So once you plug those holes, stop bleeding cash to liabilities, you have to put that protected 10% to work.
Yes. And the material emphasizes that relying on a single salary puts you dangerously close to poverty.
It's like sitting on a one-legged stool. I mean, sure, it holds you up for a while, but it's incredibly fragile if that single leg gets kicked out.
That is the perfect analogy. And the data shows successful individuals average 7 streams of income.
Wait, 7. That sounds exhausting.
It does, but they do it by deploying that initial 10% savings, along with their spare time, to acquire multiplying assets.
Like buying dividend-paying stocks or starting small businesses, things like that.
Right, or even learning a high-income skill. The point is they buy income-producing assets so they aren't totally reliant on one employer.
And the engine behind all those assets is compounding. It's not just hoarding coins under a mattress.
No, not at all. It's about the mathematical leverage of those coins earning interest and then, that interest earning its own interest.
Which just acts as a massive multiplier over time.
Exactly, doing the heavy lifting for you over decades. Which is why the source argues that patience makes up exactly half of your financial success.
Right. So to wrap up, poverty, according to this deep dive, is fundamentally a lack of knowledge and discipline, not just an absence of money.
Yeah. Taking a small structural precaution with your income today dictates your total freedom tomorrow.
Right. So changing that default mindset, ruthlessly protecting your cash flow, by, redefining your assets and letting compound interest work, that will permanently alter your financial trajectory.
Absolutely, it changes everything.
Which leaves you with one final, maybe uncomfortable question to ponder. If true wealth is defined by assets that generate cash while you sleep, what exactly is your money doing right now while you are listening to this deep dive?